mention the way David O'Leary dealt with the book and the Bowyer Woodgate case. You also have to say that obviously the players, Terry Venables wasn't getting the best out of them, and when Peter Reid came on towards the end of the season, he was able to try and give them a kick up the backside and get something out of that team.
Yes, now look at Mark Viduka, for instance. I mean, Mark Viduka, clearly a very, very talented player, and yet how often do Leeds see the best of Mark Viduka? I mean, why is that? People, you know, at home, we get it all the time from fans, they're mystified. Why these players, they're paid so much, they're such talented players, why don't we see the best of them all the time?
It mystifies me. I saw them at home to Bolton, and then a week later I saw them perform absolutely magnificently away at Charlton to get a win there just a few weeks ago. Eddie Gray came in, and it must have made a difference. The players clearly want to play for Eddie Gray and Kevin Blackwell. The players realise the situation that they're in, and finally it seems as if with those 11 players that he's got there, Eddie Gray went back to basics in terms of putting 11 players out on the field who could actually speak English, which was a bit of a problem towards the start of the season, and that does make a difference. It's a small point, it's a big point if you're on the pitch and you can't actually understand what your teammates are saying or what's happening.
Mr. Wildman, thank you very much. Mr. Kellner, thank you very much indeed for the moment. Mihir.
Luke, you mentioned a very interesting point about the leadership given to players. Isn't one of the problems? We're focusing on Leeds because they're in a club in crisis. But if we focus on other clubs, we would also find lack of leadership. Martin mentioned Alex Ferguson, but Alex Ferguson has a player who failed to take a drugs test, which has caused an enormous international crisis. So it's a question of leadership and who provides the leadership in the club, which is prevalent right throughout football.
It certainly is, and if you were a player and you saw your leaders performing like the leaders at Leeds United have recently, you would feel hard done to. If people in my line of work were treating me as the board of directors were treating those players, in terms of getting rid of the best people that you're working with, all of the players that left that club, it's understandable that the players were underperforming. It's understandable that they were going out on the pitch wondering what was happening, because they've seen their teammates, their friends, sold off from around them, and they've seen the squad that they were playing amongst be absolutely decimated.
And isn't the other thing that fans have been conditioned to believe that just because a player kisses the badge of the club, he's actually wedded to the club, when he is a mercenary who will go to the biggest club or the biggest paymaster? Isn't that the fact? That fans have lost that touch with the players that they had, let's say, in the great days of English football, and therefore these players will move around. And it's difficult to blame the players for trying to maximise their wages.
It is difficult in these current times to say that players should be at a club for life. I don't see that happening now. You look at the players at Leeds United, there are some who do certainly wear that white shirt with pride. I have no doubt that Alan Smith, Dominic Matteo, a number of other players, every time they go out, want to do their very best for Leeds United. It's already been said tonight, as was pointed out with Rio Ferdinand, Leeds took a gamble. They paid for Rio Ferdinand big bucks at the time to give him a chance, and when Leeds needed him, he put the transfer request in and asked to leave for Manchester United, and that's the way football is.
And look, how much do we in the media have to accept responsibility for the way we project the players as that big and of course wedded to the clubs and, you know, absolutely behind the clubs, and all it is for them is just another day's pay.
It is, and the players are in the spotlight all the time, unfairly so at some stages. We've already mentioned the fact that they can't go out and relax without being in the spotlight. Obviously, we hear about things that happen at Christmas parties, and every time Leeds United have their Christmas party, there will be newspaper photographers and people looking for a story. They can't be normal people. They have to get on with it. But I'm sure that the players that are there at the moment, now, under Eddie Gray, and with the people that are running the club, Trevor Birch and John McKenzie, they will try and take Leeds United forward, and they do realise that they've got a big job on their hands.
15 seconds, Mr. Rose. Have you finished?
One final question. Do you think this could be a turning point for Leeds under the new management?
There's a big point turning point now for Leeds United. If Eddie Gray and Kevin Blackwell can get those players playing well, whether or not they can maintain the current performances will decide whether or not Leeds United stay in the Premiership this season. If they can carry on as they have been, they'll be okay.
Thank you very much indeed for your comments. Let's go to the jury now. One or two nods there, I think. You've had one say, so I'll let you have another one. Would you like to make a general observation?
Yes. We can't let the board members off the hook. It's the job, obviously, of managers to get as much resources and as money they can to buy the best players. and players themselves want resources, but we expect the board to run a business in a proper way. It's no good excuse saying that they're fans. They're not there to be fans, they're to run a business. And this is what they haven't done.
Okay.
They should be, and we need to be using the brains and experience of the fans, because clearly they've got more than this than the people have brought in from big business.
Thank you for that observation. The gentleman, I think, at the back there wants to say something.
Yeah, the point I'd like to make is about David O'Leary. There seems to be a lot of fans who are still on his side, and I'd like to say to them, particularly once I've had instances where people shouted O'Leary's name at the matches, do they really think we wouldn't be in this trouble if he was still in charge? That's what they seem to think. We've been in more trouble. In the last half of the season, of his last season, we were terrible. He had to go at the time. There's been mismanagement since then as well, but there's no way. O'Leary's down there with Doug Ellis, and that's the best place for him as far as I can see.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else just like to round up? Gentleman right at the very back, sir. Very brief, if you don't mind, sir.
On the subject of O'Leary, let's not forget that when he came in as manager, he inherited 3 or 4 very good young players. Cool, Robinson, Smith, who all came through at the same time. O'Leary did well for a couple of seasons by getting us into Europe, but then we needed to go on to the next plane. He was given 100 million, we still didn't do it, we still couldn't beat Manchester United, we couldn't beat Arsenal when it mattered, and we missed out on the Champions League, and the rest is history.
I blame him for what's demise of the club, bringing the book out, and we went then to Cardiff, got beat, and we went downhill from there.
So you've heard the arguments. It's time now to retire and deliver your verdicts. We want to hear from you. Who do you blame for the crisis at Leeds United? The debate on Leeds United's future continues right now, both on BBC Radio Leeds and the BBC website. Log on to www.bbc.co.uk/Leeds and you can enjoy a live chat with Peter Lorimer. Or tune into Radio Leeds, where your contribution will be welcome right now. We'll be reporting on your opinions on Look North tomorrow evening. Well, this is the point now where I'm going to ask the jury to make their decision. And please, could you get your red or yellow card? I think the colour obviously indicates your decision. Let's first of all see who believes that Peter Ridsdale is guilty at Leeds United. I'm not going to comment on the unanimous verdict there. What about the current chairman, Professor Mackenzie? Mainly red, but not quite so conclusive. David O'Leary, the manager. Again, mainly red, but half a dozen or so yellow cards. And what about the players? Guilty or not guilty? That's a yellow, so there we are. Thank you very much indeed. Well, that just about brings our proceedings to a close. Many thanks to our learned counsels, the witnesses, and of course you, the jury. And the honourable gentleman standing next to me in the dock, who tonight, I think you'll have agreed, have acted absolutely impeccably. From all of us, good night.